when getting into kilts on a limited budget, is it better to purchase fewer high-quality kilts to have the nicer wear, or to buy more lower-quality kilts to have the variety? What's the better tactic if you're on a budget?
So, do you want quantity or do you want quality? That is the choice.
There's the rub.
Questions. Yeah. I would say this. Erik has a sticker on his mug now. I would say this. The thing that matters most. I swear this is just
Start over.
Yeah.
If you're on a budget,
the thing that matters most is start. Period. So figure out what you can afford to spend on it. Figure out, have a swear jar, have a coffee jar, take your daily coffee money for Starbucks and put it in the jar until you have, $100 or whatever it is to buy your first entry level kilt and get something. Now, I'm also of the opinion that it's better to buy something nicer than you think you want than lower, because you don't generally regret a higher quality purchase. You might regret a lower quality purchase. But wherever you start, just jump in. The water's fine. You got to start somewhere. As you start collecting, I would say your tastes will change over time. So the first kilt 2, 3 you get, you're going to look back on in 2, 3, 4 years. If you start wearing them more often, you're going to look back on them and be like, I don't like that one as much as I first did. Mm-hmm. That one's too simple. That one's too plain. Or, I just bought that one on a whim at a festival and I don't really like it anymore. Your tastes are going to evolve and they're going to get nicer, generally speaking, over time. So the longer you save up, the more you spend on your first kilt, within reason, obviously, the happier you're going to be with it for a longer period of time. I would rather have a few higher quality kilts or a reasonable number of high quality kilts and maybe a couple less expensive kilts to mow the grass in, right, to wear to the pub, to wear at Highland Games, whatever, just to beat up and not worry about as much. Mm-hmm. But I would say no matter where you fall on the scale of whether you want to get a bunch of lower end or a few higher end, I would say have one of each minimum and then fill out the middle kind of as you go. Maybe start with a cheap kilt, $100 or less, just to see if you like it, test it out a little bit, and then save up for your next kilt for a wool kilt, whether it's a 5-yard wool or an 8-yard wool kilt. Get a nice one so you have something to wear for nice dressier kind of occasions, and then see which one you like better. If you really love that one that much more than the nice wool kilt, great. Then save up a little longer and get another wool kilt. If you're like, no, I'd rather have a little bit more options, variety, that kind of thing, then get a couple lower end kilts and then get a nice higher end kilt. As you kind of go, you just figure it out. Yeah. Erik.
Me?
Yes.
I don't really disagree, but I'll offer an alternate strategy for variety's sake. I don't know if I'd want to go too high or too low for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you aim for the best of the best of the best, then if there's a problem with it, or if your weight fluctuates, or if you can't afford to get anything else because you spent all your money on the kilt for a long time, you're going to have some regrets because of that. If you go too low, you're going to be getting a cheap ass kilt that basically doesn't fit you right. It may wear out, or it may not hang right, which is going to make you feel like you don't look good in it and may give you a false negative. So I would try and go for something more in the middle, especially if you're nervous about your measurements. You don't want to spend $500-$600 on a Premier wool kilt and have messed up your measurements because you've never taken your measurements before, or something like that, or because your weight is fluctuating or something like that. So I would try to go something a little nicer than the absolute bleh. I would still avoid doing an acrylic blend or a festival kilt, frankly. Any of the Pakistani stuff, I would avoid that, because you want to make sure that you will have the confidence that comes from it when you put it on for the first time. So you need something that's going to fit you at least well, if not perfectly. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But neither should you go for the super expensive one, because once you have one, you're probably going to want another one very, very soon So you have that A, the variety, and B, I'm not afraid to beat this one up.
Agreed. I'll add another angle at it as well.
Yet another angle.
The kilt is the basis of the outfit. So I would say, if you're going to cheap out, for lack of a better term, or buy accessories that you're going to want to upgrade later, then I would say invest the money in the kilt itself, but maybe buy a less expensive sporran. Maybe buy a cheaper belt or a cheaper kilt pin, or maybe forego the kilt pin and put that, $20-30 into the kilt. So it's how you build the outfit over time. It's not going to happen unless you're independently wealthy. It's not going to happen in a day. You're going to build this outfit over time. Your tastes are going to change over time. The things you want to accentuate the parts of your heritage that you want to explore, whether it's a Nordic part, whether it's a Scottish part, whether it's your family tartan, whether it's your Irish county tartan, all these things are going to kind of, you're going to have different periods where you like one thing more than another, or you want to accentuate one thing more than another. So I would say start with the kilt, start with that, and then build the outfit around it. And then, if you're going to cheap out in some of the accessories and then replace them over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's about it. I agree with ourselves. Yes.
And be sure about those measurements.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. So I'm curious, how many kilts do you own, and where did you start your journey with kilts? Did you start in the low end and work your way up, or did you jump right in and get a wool kilt as your first one? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to buy a kilt, we would be honored if you would shop with us. Go over to usakilts.com.